The silence had become a shroud, muffling the world, muting the colors, until even the memory of laughter felt like a distant echo. He had cultivated it, this quiet, like a fragile garden of grief, protecting it from the harsh light of joy. Then, a new sound began to seep through the walls, a vibrant, unapologetic peal of laughter that defied the very notion of quiet. It was too loud, too bright, too alive. He resented it, this intrusion, this joyful noise that dared to challenge his carefully constructed solitude. Yet, as the laughter persisted, a strange, unsettling curiosity began to stir within him. What kind of woman could laugh with such unbridled abandon? And what hidden melody did her heart play that could possibly break through the impenetrable silence of his own? This is the story of a man who had forgotten how to live, and the plus-size neighbor whose laughter became the unexpected symphony of his healing. If this intriguing contrast between silence and laughter has already piqued your interest, please consider hitting that subscribe button. Your support helps this channel grow and allows us to bring more deeply human and inspiring narratives like this one to life. Thank you. The small, tree-lined street in Willow Creek, a quiet suburb nestled in the heart of New England, had always been a sanctuary of predictable rhythms. Morning birdsong, the distant hum of lawnmowers on weekends, the gentle rustle of autumn leaves. These were the sounds Elias Thorne had come to rely on. For the past 3 years, since the sudden devastating loss of his beloved wife, Alara, silence had been his most constant companion. His home, a charming but now somewhat neglected 2-story house with a sprawling oak in the front yard, had become a monument to that silence. The laughter of the past, the warmth that once radiated from its windows, had faded, leaving behind only the cool, quiet ache of memory. Elias, in his late 40s, was a man who carried his grief like a heavy, invisible cloak. His once vibrant blue eyes were now often shadowed, his shoulders slightly stooped. He worked from home as a freelance graphic designer, a solitary profession that suited his reclusive nature. His days were a routine of work, solitary meals, and long evenings spent staring into the embers of a fireplace that rarely saw a real fire. He rarely ventured beyond his garden, and when he did, it was usually for essential groceries, his interactions with the outside world minimal and polite. His closest friend, Ms. Bronwyn Reed, a kind but persistent woman who had known Elias and Alara for years, often tried to coax him out, but her efforts were usually met with gentle but firm resistance. Then, the house next door, which had stood vacant for months, suddenly sprang to life. A flurry of activity, moving trucks, and the unfamiliar sounds of new beginnings shattered Elias's carefully preserved quiet. He watched from behind his curtains, a flicker of annoyance stirring within him. He preferred the quiet. He preferred the familiar. A few days later, he saw her. She was a woman in her early 30s, with a vibrant shock of auburn hair that seemed to catch the sunlight, and a smile that reached her dark, expressive eyes. She was undeniably plus-size, her figure generous and unapologetic, and she moved with an energy that seemed to vibrate through the very air. Her name, he later learned from the neighborhood grapevine, was Serafina Sarah Bloom. Sarah was everything Elias was not. She was loud, she was bright, and she laughed. Oh, how she laughed. Her laughter wasn't a polite titter or a gentle chuckle. It was a full-bodied, unrestrained peal that echoed through the walls, across the manicured lawns, and straight into Elias's carefully constructed silence. It was the kind of laugh that made you turn your head, that made you smile despite yourself, or, in Elias's case, that made you wince. He heard it when she was talking on the phone on her porch. He heard it when she was wrestling with a stubborn piece of furniture in her living room. He heard it when she was simply enjoying a cup of coffee in her backyard. It was a joyful noise, yes, but to Elias, it felt like an intrusion, a constant, cheerful reminder of the warmth and happiness that had vanished from his own life. If the stark contrast between Elias's quiet grief and Sarah's vibrant laughter has already captured your imagination, please show your support by hitting the like button and subscribing to the channel. Your engagement helps us continue to share these powerful and uplifting stories. Sarah, oblivious to the quiet resentment brewing next door, was simply trying to make a home. She had moved to Willow Creek for a new job as a social worker, drawn by the town's charm and the promise of a fresh start. She was a woman who embraced life with open arms, her heart as big as her personality. Her plus-size figure had often been a source of self-consciousness in her younger years, But she had long since learned to carry herself with confidence. Her bright smile, an infectious laugh, her most potent weapons against a world that sometimes judged by appearances. Her Aunt Isolde Vance, a pragmatic and loving woman who had always encouraged Sarah's authenticity, had instilled in her the belief that true beauty came from within. "Your laugh, Sarah," Aunt Isolde would say. "It's a gift. It's sunshine. Never dim your light for anyone." Sarah was determined to be a good neighbor. She baked cookies for the elderly Mr. Alistair Sterling across the street, a somewhat gruff but ultimately kind man who quickly warmed to her charm. She introduced herself to the young couple down the road, offering to babysit their boisterous twins. But the house next door, Elias's house, remained a mystery. She'd seen him occasionally, a fleeting glimpse of a somber man tending his garden, his face etched with a quiet sadness. She'd tried a wave once, a friendly smile, but he'd merely offered a brief, almost imperceptible nod before retreating indoors. One sunny Saturday morning, Sarah was attempting to assemble a notoriously complicated flat-pack bookshelf on her porch. Tools were scattered, instructions were baffling, and her frustration was mounting. Suddenly, a particularly stubborn bolt refused to cooperate, and with a grunt of effort, Sarah accidentally knocked over a stack of wooden panels, sending them clattering to the ground with a resounding crash. A moment of silence, then a low, mournful howl erupted from Elias's backyard. It was his dog, a scruffy but loyal terrier mix named Shadow, who had clearly been startled by the noise. Sarah, mortified, immediately rushed to the fence. "Oh my goodness! I am so sorry. Is your dog okay?" Elias emerged from his back door, looking disheveled and annoyed. He saw Sarah, her face flushed with embarrassment, surrounded by the wreckage of her bookshelf. He saw her generous figure, her bright clothes, and the lingering echo of her loud laugh from earlier that morning. He felt a familiar surge of irritation. "He's fine," Elias said, his voice clipped, his gaze avoiding hers. "Just startled. He's not used to sudden noises." The implication was clear. He wasn't used to her noises. Sarah's shoulders slumped slightly. She felt the familiar sting of judgment, the unspoken criticism of her loudness, her presence. "I really am sorry," she repeated, her voice softer now. "I'm just trying to put this thing together, and it's proving to be a formidable opponent." She gestured helplessly at the scattered wood. Elias, despite himself, glanced at the instructions. He was a graphic designer, a man who understood visual logic. He could see, even from a distance, the flawed diagram. A tiny, almost imperceptible flicker of something other than annoyance crossed his face, but he quickly suppressed it. "Perhaps you should consider hiring someone," he suggested, his tone still distant, before turning to go back inside. "I'm trying to do it myself," Sarah called out, a hint of defiance in her voice. "It's a matter of principle." Elias merely offered another curt nod and disappeared indoors, leaving Sarah feeling deflated and acutely aware of the chasm between their two houses. If the awkward first encounter between Sarah and Elias, and the subtle hints of their contrasting worlds, are drawing you in, please show your support by hitting the like button and subscribing to the channel. Your engagement helps us continue to share these powerful and uplifting stories. Days turned into weeks. Sarah continued to settle into her new home, her vibrant energy slowly but surely permeating the quiet street. She hosted a small housewarming barbecue, inviting all the neighbors, but Elias's house remained dark and silent. She left a plate of her famous lemon bars on his porch with a friendly note, but they remained untouched for 2 days before she quietly retrieved them, her heart sinking a little. Her colleague, Rhiannon Rye Kalin, a spirited and observant woman from her social work office, noticed Sarah's quiet disappointment. "Still no luck with the mystery man next door?" Rye asked one lunch break. "Don't worry, Sarah. Some people just take longer to thaw, especially around here. Willow Creek has its share of reserved types." "Reserved is an understatement," Sarah sighed. "He barely looks at me. I think my laugh genuinely offends him." "Then laugh louder," Rye declared, ever the optimist. "Your laugh is amazing. It's infectious. He'll come around." Meanwhile, Elias continued his solitary existence, but Sarah's presence, though unwelcome, was becoming increasingly difficult to ignore. Her laughter, once an annoyance, was now a constant, almost gravitational pull. He found himself unconsciously listening for it, a strange, unsettling habit. He'd hear her talking to Mr. Sterling, her voice warm and friendly, or singing along to a cheerful song while gardening. He even saw her, one afternoon, helping Mrs. Sterling carry her groceries, her generous frame moving with surprising grace and strength. He also noticed the small acts of kindness she performed, the way she always picked up stray litter from the sidewalk, even if it wasn't in front of her house, the way she left a bowl of water out for neighborhood cats, the way she patiently listened to Mr. Sterling's lengthy anecdotes, always with a genuine smile. He saw her, not just as the plus-size neighbor with the loud laugh, but as a woman of genuine warmth and compassion. And a tiny, almost imperceptible crack began to form in the wall of silence he had built around himself. One particularly blustery autumn afternoon, a fierce gust of wind ripped through the neighborhood, tearing a large branch from Elias's ancient oak tree. It landed squarely on his fence, splintering the wood and creating a gaping hole between his yard and Sarah's. Elias, startled by the crash, rushed outside. He surveyed the damage with a sigh. This was exactly the kind of unexpected disruption he dreaded. He knew he needed to fix it, but the thought of the physical labor, the interaction with contractors, filled him with a familiar weariness. Sarah, hearing the crash, was already outside, looking concerned. She saw the fallen branch, the broken fence, and Elias standing there, looking utterly defeated. "Oh, Elias," Sarah exclaimed, her voice filled with genuine concern. "Are you all right? That was quite a crash." Elias flinched at the sound of his name, spoken with such familiarity. He hadn't realized she even knew it. "I'm fine," he mumbled, still staring at the broken fence. "Just the fence. And the tree. It's a big branch," Sarah observed, walking closer to the damaged section. "Looks like it'll need some serious work. Do you have a chainsaw? Or should I call someone?" Elias shook his head. "No, I'll handle it." He didn't want her help. He didn't want anyone's help. He just wanted to retreat back into his quiet house and pretend the problem didn't exist. But Sarah didn't leave. She stood there, her presence a warm, solid anchor in the chilly autumn air. She looked at the broken fence, then at Elias, her dark eyes filled with an understanding that surprised him. She saw not just the damage, but the weariness in his posture, the unspoken burden he carried. "You know," Sarah said, her voice softer now, less boisterous. "My dad was a carpenter. I grew up around tools. I'm actually pretty handy with a saw, if you need an extra pair of hands. Or just someone to hold the ladder." She offered a tentative, hopeful smile. Elias looked at her, truly looked at her, for the first time. He saw the genuine offer, the lack of judgment, the simple desire to help. He saw the warmth in her eyes, the kindness in her smile. And for a fleeting moment, the silence within him felt a little less comforting, a little more lonely. He hesitated. Then, to his own surprise, he heard himself say, I suppose an extra pair of hands wouldn't hurt. It's a heavy branch." Sarah's smile widened, a genuine, uninhibited beam of light. "Great. Let me just grab my work gloves. And maybe some coffee. It's going to be a long afternoon." As Sarah bustled back into her house, Elias found himself staring at the broken fence, then at the spot where she had stood. He heard the faint sound of her humming a cheerful tune from inside her house. And for the first time in a long time, the quiet of his own home felt less like a sanctuary and more like an empty space, waiting to be filled. The unexpected offer of help, the genuine warmth in her eyes, had chipped away at his solitude in a way that no polite wave or lemon bar ever could. The loud, vibrant neighbor was about to enter his world, and he realized, with a strange mix of apprehension and curiosity, that he might just be ready for it. If the unexpected connection forming between Sarah and Elias and the promise of healing through shared effort are captivating you, please show your support by hitting the like button and subscribing to the channel. Your engagement helps us continue to share these powerful and uplifting stories. Sarah returned moments later, a blur of vibrant energy. She carried a well-worn toolbox, its contents rattling with purpose, and a thermos that promised warmth. Her work gloves, thick and practical, were already on, and a pair of safety glasses perched on her head. She moved with an efficiency that belied her plus-size frame, her steps light and purposeful despite the weight she carried. Elias watched her, a knot of apprehension tightening in his stomach. He was accustomed to solitude, to the quiet hum of his own thoughts. The idea of someone else, especially someone as outwardly vibrant as Sarah, invading his space, his routine, felt profoundly unsettling. Yet he had agreed. The broken fence, a stark symbol of disruption, demanded attention, and his own weariness had overridden his usual resistance. "All right, Elias," Sarah announced, her voice cheerful, though slightly muted, as if she were consciously trying to rein in her natural volume. "Operation Fence Repair is a go. What's the game plan? Do we tackle the branch first, or try to stabilize the fence?" Elias, still somewhat stiff, gestured vaguely at the fallen oak limb. "The branch. It's heavy. We'll need to cut it into smaller pieces to move it." He retrieved his old, somewhat rusty chainsaw from the shed, a tool he hadn't used in years. Sarah's eyes lit up. "Oh, a chainsaw. Excellent. My dad taught me how to use one. Safety first, though. Got any ear protection?" Elias, surprised by her immediate familiarity with the tool, retrieved a pair of earmuffs. He handed them to her, and for a brief moment, their fingers brushed. A jolt, subtle but undeniable, passed between them. Sarah quickly donned the earmuffs, her smile unwavering. They began the arduous task. Elias, despite his initial reluctance, found himself falling into a rhythm with Sarah. She was surprisingly strong, her generous build providing a solid foundation as she helped him maneuver the heavy branch. She held it steady while he made the initial cuts, her eyes sharp, her movements precise. Her knowledge of tools, her practical approach, was evident in every action. She didn't hesitate, didn't complain, and didn't shy away from the dirt and sawdust. The chainsaw roared to life, its mechanical growl filling the space that had once been so quiet. As Elias worked, cutting through the thick wood, Sarah moved the smaller pieces, stacking them neatly. She pointed out the best angles for cuts, offered to take turns with the saw, and even managed to crack a joke about the stubbornness of old oak trees. If Sarah's unexpected competence and her cheerful spirit in the face of hard work are captivating you, please show your support by hitting the like button and subscribing to the channel. Your engagement helps us continue to share these powerful and uplifting stories. Mid-afternoon, they paused for a break. The air was crisp, carrying the scent of sawdust and damp earth. Sarah poured them both steaming mugs of coffee from her thermos. Elias, his hands grimy, his muscles aching in a way they hadn't in years, accepted the mug gratefully. The warmth seeped into his chilled fingers, a small comfort. "Phew," Sarah exclaimed, pulling off her earmuffs and wiping a smudge of dirt from her cheek. "That was quite a workout, but we made good progress." "That branch is almost gone." She took a large gulp of coffee, then looked at Elias, a faint blush on her cheeks. "I know I laugh too loud sometimes," she began, her voice a little softer, a hint of embarrassment in her tone. "And I probably talk too much, and I'm definitely not the quietest neighbor you've ever had." She paused, then met his gaze directly, her dark eyes earnest. "But I like you, Elias, and I really wanted to help." Elias stared at her, the words hanging in the air between them. Her honesty, her vulnerability was disarming. He had expected her to be loud, yes, but not so open. He had expected her to be an intrusion, but not so genuinely kind. He saw the slight tremor in her hands, the way she fidgeted with her mug, revealing a hidden layer of self-consciousness beneath her cheerful exterior. He thought of Alara, his late wife, and her gentle, melodic laugh. He thought of the silence that had followed, a silence he had embraced as a shield. But Sarah's laughter, though different, was not malicious. It was simply life. And her directness, her simple declaration of, "I like you," cut through his carefully constructed reserve in a way nothing else had. I appreciate the help, Sarah," Elias finally managed, his voice a little rough from disuse. He cleared his throat. "And your laugh isn't so bad. It's lively." It was the closest he had come to a compliment in years, and he felt a strange, unfamiliar warmth spread through his chest. Sarah's smile widened, a genuine, uninhibited beam that seemed to chase away the shadows. "Lively, I'll take it. Better than obnoxious, which I've heard before." She chuckled, a softer, more self-aware sound this time. "So, what's next? The fence posts?" They spent the rest of the afternoon working on the fence. It was slow, painstaking work, digging out the old, rotted posts and preparing the ground for new ones. Sarah continued to surprise Elias with her strength and her practical knowledge. She knew how to mix concrete, how to use a level, how to wield a hammer with surprising precision. She talked as they worked, sharing anecdotes about her social work, about her Auntie Zolda, about her love for baking. Elias, to his own astonishment, found himself listening, occasionally offering a quiet comment or a small, almost imperceptible smile. He learned that Sarah had moved to Willow Creek to work with at-risk youth, a demanding job that required immense patience and empathy. He learned that she loved old movies and hated doing laundry. He learned that her loud laugh was often a coping mechanism, a way to project confidence even when she felt vulnerable. He saw the kindness in her eyes, the genuine concern she held for others, and the unwavering optimism that seemed to be her default setting. If the deepening connection between Sarah and Elias and the subtle revelations about their personalities are captivating you, please show your support by hitting the like button and subscribing to the channel. Your engagement helps us continue to share these powerful and uplifting stories. As the sun began to dip below the horizon, casting long, golden shadows across their yards, they finally called it a day. The fallen branch was gone, cut into neat, manageable pieces, and the new fence posts were securely in the ground, waiting for the planks to be attached. They had made significant progress, more than Elias could have ever achieved alone. Elias looked at the half-repaired fence, then at Sarah, her face smudged with dirt, her hair escaping in wild tendrils from her bun, but her eyes still bright. He felt a profound sense of gratitude, an emotion that had been a stranger to him for too long. "Thank you, Sarah," Elias said, his voice clearer, more sincere than it had been all day. I really appreciate your help." "I couldn't have done this by myself," Sarah smiled, a genuine, tired but happy smile. "Anytime, Elias. That's what neighbors are for, right? We'll finish it up next weekend, if you're free." Elias hesitated for a moment, then nodded. "Yes, next weekend. That would be good." As Sarah gathered her tools and headed back to her house, Elias remained in his yard, staring at the fence. The gaping hole was still there, but now, new, sturdy posts stood tall, promising repair. He heard Sarah humming a cheerful tune as she disappeared into her home, and then, a moment later, a burst of her loud, infectious laughter. He expected the familiar wince, the irritation, but this time, it didn't come. Instead, a faint, almost imperceptible smile touched his lips. The silence in his home, which had once felt like a sanctuary, now felt a little less comforting, a little more empty. Sarah's laughter, once an intrusion, now felt like a distant, but not entirely unwelcome, echo of life. He walked into his house, the lingering scent of sawdust clinging to his clothes. He looked at the empty chair where Alara used to sit, the quiet rooms that held so many memories. For the first time in years, the silence felt less like a protective shroud and more like a heavy blanket waiting to be lifted. Sarah, the plus-size neighbor with the loud laugh, had, with her simple honesty and her unwavering kindness, managed to chip away at the formidable wall he had built around his grief. He didn't know what the next weekend would bring, but for the first time in a long time, Elias Thorne felt a flicker of something akin to anticipation. The quiet grief he had carried for so long was still there, but now, a new sound had entered his world, a sound that promised, however subtly, that healing didn't always arrive quietly. Sometimes, it came with laughter. The following Saturday dawned crisp and clear, a perfect autumn day. Elias Thorne, to his own surprise, felt a flicker of anticipation as he watched the sun climb over the horizon. The silence in his house, once a comforting blanket, now felt thin, almost transparent, allowing the memory of Sarah Bloom's vibrant presence to seep through. He found himself looking forward to the sound of her voice, the sight of her cheerful energy, even the echo of her laughter. The broken fence, once a symbol of disruption, now represented a bridge, an unexpected connection. Sarah arrived promptly, her arms laden with a fresh batch of homemade blueberry muffins and another thermos of coffee. "Morning, Elias," she chirped, her smile as bright as the morning sun. Fuel for the fence-building team. Elias, who had already retrieved his tools, managed a small, genuine smile in return. "Morning, Sarah. Muffins sound good." They fell into a comfortable rhythm, attaching the new fence planks to the freshly set posts. Sarah, with her practical eye and steady hands, was an invaluable partner. She held the planks steady while Elias drilled, her comments insightful and her encouragement constant. They talked as they worked, the conversation flowing more easily than before. Elias found himself sharing small details about his work, about the challenges of freelance graphic design, about the quirks of his dog, Shadow, who now trotted happily between their feet, occasionally nudging Sarah's hand for a pat. Sarah, in turn, spoke more about her social work, the triumphs and heartbreaks of helping at-risk youth navigate complex systems. She spoke of her Aunt Isolde Vance, who lived a few towns over and was a constant source of wisdom and tough love. Aunt Isolde always says, Sarah recounted, hammering a nail with surprising force, that the biggest walls aren't made of brick, but of silence, and that sometimes you just need a good, loud laugh to shake them down. She glanced at Elias, a knowing look in her eyes, but without judgment. Elias, instead of wincing at the mention of her laugh, found himself considering her words. He had built a formidable wall of silence around himself, a fortress against the pain of loss. But Sarah, with her unwavering authenticity, was slowly, patiently, dismantling it. One shared moment, one honest conversation, one hearty laugh at a time. If the deepening bond between Sarah and Elias, built on shared effort and honest conversation, is captivating you, please show your support by hitting the like button and subscribing to the channel. Your engagement helps us continue to share these powerful and uplifting stories. By late afternoon, the fence was complete, sturdy and gleaming with new wood. It stood as a testament to their combined effort, a physical manifestation of the connection that had begun to form between them. They stood back, admiring their handiwork, a shared sense of accomplishment hanging in the air. "It looks great, Elias," Sarah exclaimed, her voice filled with genuine pride. "A job well done, if I do say so myself." Elias nodded, a rare, genuine smile gracing his lips. "It does. Thank you, Sarah. Really, I couldn't have done it without you." Sarah, sensing the sincerity in his voice, smiled back. "Anytime. Now, how about we celebrate with some of that coffee and a muffin? My treat." They sat on Sarah's porch, the autumn sun warm on their faces, sipping coffee and enjoying the muffins. The conversation flowed easily, touching on everything from local politics to favorite books. Elias found himself laughing, a rusty, unfamiliar sound that surprised even himself, at one of Sarah's anecdotes about a particularly stubborn client. It wasn't a loud, boisterous laugh like hers, but a soft, genuine chuckle that brought a flicker of warmth to his eyes. As the afternoon waned, Elias felt a lightness he hadn't experienced in years. The weight of his grief, though still present, felt less suffocating. Sarah's presence, her unwavering cheerfulness, was a balm to his wounded spirit. He realized that her loudness wasn't an intrusion. It was a vibrant, life-affirming force that was slowly, gently, coaxing him back into the world. Later that evening, Ms. Bronwyn Reed, Elias's longtime friend, stopped by his house, concerned about his continued isolation. She found him in his living room, not in his usual quiet solitude, but with a faint smile on his face, listening to a jazz record, something he hadn't done since Alara passed. "Elias?" Ms. Reed asked, surprised. "Is everything all right? I heard you had some tree damage." "It's fine, Bronwyn," Elias replied, gesturing vaguely towards the newly repaired fence. "Sarah, my neighbor, helped me fix it. She's quite handy." Ms. Reed's eyes widened. She had heard whispers about the new neighbor, the plus-size woman with the loud laugh, and had been curious. But to see Elias, talking about someone else, smiling, listening to music, it was a revelation. "Sarah?" she repeated, a hopeful note in her voice. "The new neighbor? That's wonderful, Elias. I'm so glad you're getting out more." Elias merely shrugged, but the faint smile remained. Ms. Reed, a keen observer of human nature, saw the subtle shift in her friend. The silence in his house was still there, but it felt different now, less oppressive, as if a window had been opened, allowing a breath of fresh air to enter. If the subtle but significant changes in Elias's demeanor and the growing hope for his healing are captivating you, please show your support by hitting the like button and subscribing to the channel. Your engagement helps us continue to share these powerful and uplifting stories. Over the next few weeks, the connection between Elias and Sarah deepened. They started a routine: coffee on Sarah's porch in the mornings, occasional shared meals, and long conversations over the fence. Sarah, with her innate empathy, never pushed Elias to talk about Alara, but she listened patiently when he occasionally offered a small anecdote, a fleeting memory. She simply created a space where he felt safe enough to share, without judgment or expectation. Elias, in turn, began to appreciate Sarah's unique qualities. He admired her unwavering optimism, her dedication to her social work, and her genuine kindness towards everyone she met. He found himself drawn to her infectious laugh, which no longer felt like an intrusion, but a welcome melody in his once silent world. He even started to notice the subtle nuances of her personality, the way her eyes crinkled at the corners when she was truly amused, the way she chewed on her lip when she was deep in thought, the quiet strength that lay beneath her cheerful exterior. One afternoon, Sarah invited Elias to join her for coffee at Cassie and Cass Vance's local coffee shop, a bustling, vibrant place that was a hub of community activity. Elias, who hadn't stepped foot in a public place for anything other than groceries in years, hesitated. The thought of being surrounded by people, of navigating social interactions, filled him with a familiar anxiety. "Oh, come on, Elias," Sarah coaxed, her eyes sparkling. "Cass makes the best lattes in town, and it's a great place to people watch. You don't have to talk to anyone if you don't want to. Just come for the coffee. And the company." She offered him a warm, reassuring smile. Elias, to his own surprise, found himself agreeing. He walked alongside Sarah, feeling a strange mix of nervousness and excitement. As they entered Cass's coffee shop, the aroma of roasted beans and the cheerful chatter of customers enveloped him. He felt a momentary urge to retreat, to pull his cloak of silence around him. But then Sarah squeezed his arm gently, a silent reassurance, and he found himself relaxing, just a little. Cass Vance, the friendly owner, greeted Sarah with a warm smile. "Sarah, good to see you. And you brought a friend." He looked at Elias, his gaze welcoming and non-judgmental. "Cass, this is Elias, my neighbor," Sarah introduced, her voice brimming with pride. "Elias, this is Cass. He makes magic in a mug." Elias managed a small nod and a faint smile. He ordered a simple black coffee, while Sarah, true to form, ordered a complicated concoction with extra whipped cream. As they sat at a small table by the window, Elias found himself observing the bustling scene, the laughter, the conversations, the sheer vibrancy of life. It was overwhelming, yes, but also invigorating. If Elias's brave step back into the world and the warmth of community connection are inspiring you, please show your support by hitting the like button and subscribing to the channel. Your engagement helps us continue to share these powerful and uplifting stories. Mr. Alastair Sterling, the elderly neighbor from across the street, spotted them from his usual corner table. He hobbled over, a curious glint in his eye. "Elias Thorne. Well, I'll be. And with the lovely Miss Bloom. What a sight for sore eyes." Mr. Sterling, a man who rarely minced words, had clearly taken a liking to Sarah. Elias felt a blush creep up his neck, but Sarah simply laughed, a bright, uninhibited sound that drew a few smiles from nearby customers. "Mr. Sterling, come join us. Elias is finally venturing out of his hermit cave," Mr. Sterling chuckled, pulling up a chair. "Hermit cave, indeed. Good for you, Elias. This young lady has a way of bringing sunshine wherever she goes. And her laugh. It's quite something, isn't it?" He winked at Elias. Elias, instead of feeling embarrassed, found himself nodding. "It is," he agreed, a genuine smile now on his face. He looked at Sarah, who was beaming, and felt a profound sense of gratitude. Her laughter, once a symbol of his discomfort, was now a source of warmth, a reminder that joy was still possible. The conversation flowed easily, a mix of neighborhood gossip, local news, and Sarah's cheerful anecdotes. Elias found himself participating, offering his own quiet observations, even sharing a small, humorous story about Shadow. He felt a lightness he hadn't experienced in years, a sense of belonging that had been absent for too long. As they walked home later that afternoon, the sun beginning its descent, Elias felt a profound shift within him. The silence in his house no longer felt like a protective shield. It felt like an empty space, waiting to be filled. Sarah's laughter, once an intrusion, was now a welcome melody, a reminder that life, even after loss, could still hold joy. "You know, Sarah," Elias began, his voice thoughtful, I used to resent your laugh. It was so loud, so full of life, and my house was so quiet. It felt like a reminder of what I'd lost." He paused, taking a deep breath. "But now I look forward to it. It's a good sound, a very good sound." Sarah stopped, turning to face him, her eyes soft with understanding. She didn't say anything, just offered him a gentle, empathetic smile. "I know I laugh too loud," Sarah said, her voice a little softer, a hint of vulnerability in her eyes. "And I probably talk too much, and I'm definitely not the quietest neighbor you've ever had. But I like you, Elias. And I'm glad my laugh doesn't bother you anymore." Elias reached out, a hesitant gesture, and gently squeezed her hand. "It doesn't, Sarah. It really doesn't. Thank you. For everything." In that moment, standing on the quiet, tree-lined street, with the golden light of the setting sun illuminating their faces, Elias felt a profound sense of healing. The grief was still there, a quiet ache in his heart, but it was no longer all-consuming. Sarah, the plus-sized neighbor with the bright smile and the laugh that echoed through the walls, had, with her unwavering authenticity and her boundless compassion, managed to break through the quiet grief he'd carried for so long. What began as a simple conversation had turned into something neither expected, a reminder that sometimes healing doesn't arrive quietly. It comes with laughter and the courage to embrace the vibrant, messy, beautiful symphony of shared moments. The wall of silence had crumbled, replaced by the gentle hum of a budding friendship, a promise of a future where joy, even after loss, could once again find its way home. The gentle squeeze of Sarah Bloom's hand, a simple, unself-conscious gesture, sent a ripple of warmth through Elias Thorne. Standing on the quiet, tree-lined street, bathed in the golden hues of the setting sun, he felt a profound shift within him. The silence, once his fortress, now felt like a relic of a past he was slowly, willingly, leaving behind. Sarah, the plus-sized neighbor with the bright smile and the laugh that echoed through the walls, had, with her unwavering authenticity and boundless compassion, managed to break through the quiet grief he'd carried for so long. What began as a simple conversation had turned into something neither expected, a reminder that sometimes healing doesn't arrive quietly. It comes with laughter. Over the next few months, the friendship between Elias and Sarah blossomed into an unbreakable bond. Their mornings often began with coffee on Sarah's porch, sharing stories and plans for the day. Elias found himself looking forward to these moments, the easy camaraderie, the genuine connection. He started to venture out more, accompanying Sarah to the local farmer's market, or joining her for walks in the park with Shadow, his terrier mix, who had also taken a profound liking to Sarah. Shadow, once a reflection of Elias's own somber mood, now wagged his tail with an enthusiasm that mirrored Sarah's own vibrant spirit. Elias's home, once a monument to silence, slowly began to fill with life again. Sarah, with her love for baking, often brought over treats, filling his kitchen with the comforting aroma of cinnamon and sugar. She encouraged him to dust off his old record player, and soon, the melodic strains of jazz and classical music, once silenced by grief, once again filled his rooms. He even started to tend to his garden with renewed vigor, planting colorful flowers that mirrored Sarah's own vibrant personality. His freelance graphic design work, which had become a monotonous routine, also found new inspiration. Sarah, with her keen eye for aesthetics and her fresh perspective, often offered suggestions that sparked Elias's creativity. He found himself taking on more challenging projects, his designs infused with a newfound energy and warmth. If the blossoming friendship between Elias and Sarah, and the renewed life in Elias's home, are deeply moving you, please show your support by hitting the like button and subscribing to the channel. Your engagement helps us continue to share these powerful and uplifting stories. The neighborhood too noticed the change. Mr. Alistair Sterling, the elderly neighbor, often stopped by Elias's yard, ostensibly to chat about gardening, but always with a knowing glance toward Sarah's house. "That Miss Bloom," Mr. Sterling would say, a twinkle in his eye. "She's done you a world of good, Elias. A world of good." Ms. Bronwyn Reed, Elias's longtime friend, was overjoyed. She often joined them for coffee at Cassian Cass Vance's coffee shop, witnessing firsthand the transformation in Elias. "I haven't seen you this happy in years, Elias," Ms. Reed confessed one afternoon, her voice filled with relief. "Sarah is truly a gift." Sarah, for her part, found immense joy in Elias's gradual reawakening. She never pushed him, never demanded anything, simply offered her unwavering friendship and her authentic self. She saw beyond his grief, recognizing the kind, gentle soul that had been hidden beneath layers of sorrow. Her own self-consciousness about her loud laugh had completely vanished. Elias's acceptance, his genuine appreciation for her vibrant spirit, had affirmed her belief that her true worth lay in her authenticity. One crisp autumn evening, as the leaves turned brilliant shades of red and gold, Sarah decided to host a small neighborhood potluck in her backyard. It was a casual affair, a chance for everyone to gather, share food, and enjoy the beauty of the season. She invited Mr. Sterling, Ms. Reed, Cass from the coffee shop, and even her colleague, Rhiannon Rye Kalin, who had become a good friend, and of course Elias. Elias, initially hesitant about a social gathering, found himself agreeing without much thought. The idea of spending an evening surrounded by friends, sharing laughter and good food, no longer filled him with dread, but with a quiet sense of anticipation. He even offered to bring his famous homemade apple pie, a recipe Alara had taught him, which he hadn't baked in years. The potluck was a resounding success. Sarah's backyard, adorned with fairy lights and warm blankets, buzzed with cheerful chatter and the aroma of delicious food. Sarah, in a flowing, colorful dress that celebrated her figure, moved effortlessly among her guests, her infectious laugh echoing through the evening air. Elias, surprisingly, found himself enjoying the company. He chatted easily with Mr. Sterling about local history, shared a laugh with Rye Kalin about Sarah's boundless energy, and even engaged in a lively discussion about design trends with Cass. He watched Sarah, her face alight with joy, her laughter a constant, melodic presence, and felt a profound sense of peace. If the warmth of community and Elias's comfortable re-engagement with social life are inspiring you, please show your support by hitting the like button and subscribing to the channel. Your engagement helps us continue to share these powerful and uplifting stories. As the evening deepened and the stars began to pepper the inky sky, Sarah gathered everyone for a small toast. She raised her glass, her eyes sparkling. "To good neighbors," she began, her voice warm and clear, "to unexpected friendships, and to the joy of shared moments, and to the belief that sometimes the best things in life arrive with a little bit of noise." She then let out a full, uninhibited peal of laughter, a sound that was met with smiles and chuckles from everyone present. Elias, raising his own glass, looked at Sarah, a deep, genuine smile on his face. He no longer heard her laughter as loud or intrusive. He heard it as a symphony of life, a melody of joy that had, against all odds, found its way back into his world. He heard it as the sound of healing. Later, as the guests began to depart, Mr. Sterling lingered for a moment, placing a hand on Elias's shoulder. "You know, son," he said, his voice gruff but kind, "Alara would be proud. Very proud. You found your way back thanks to that wonderful woman." Elias nodded, his eyes misty. "I think so, Mr. Sterling. I really think so." As the last guests left, Elias and Sarah stood together in her backyard, the fairy lights twinkling around them. The air was cool, but a warmth radiated between them. "That was a wonderful evening, Sarah," Elias said, his voice soft. "Thank you for inviting me, for everything." Sarah smiled, a gentle, knowing smile. "Anytime, Elias. You know, when I first moved in, I thought you hated my laugh." Elias chuckled, a genuine, heartfelt sound. "I didn't hate it, Sarah. I wasn't ready for it. I was so used to the quiet. But now I wouldn't trade it for anything." He looked at her, his blue eyes, once shadowed by grief, now clear and full of warmth. "I know I laughed too loud," he mimicked her earlier words, a playful glint in his eye. "But I like you, Sarah. I really do." Sarah's heart swelled. His words, a reflection of her own vulnerability, were the most beautiful affirmation she could have received. She reached out, taking his hand, her touch warm and reassuring. "I like you too, Elias. More than you know." If the beautiful culmination of Elias's healing and the profound connection between him and Sarah are deeply moving you, please show your support by hitting the like button and subscribing to the channel. Your engagement helps us continue to share these powerful and uplifting stories. The potluck became an annual tradition, a symbol of the vibrant community that had blossomed around Sarah and Elias. Their friendship deepened, evolving into a quiet, profound love that neither had expected. Elias, once a recluse, found himself actively participating in neighborhood events. His graphic design skills often lent to local charities and community projects. He even started teaching a small art class at the local community center, sharing his passion with others, his once guarded heart now open and generous. Sarah continued her impactful work as a social worker, her empathy and unwavering belief in human potential touching countless lives. Her laughter, once a source of self-consciousness, became her signature, a beacon of joy that drew people to her. She embraced her plus-size identity with pride, a living testament to the fact that true beauty and worth came from within, from the kindness of one's heart and the authenticity of one's spirit. Their two houses, once separated by a broken fence and a wall of silence, now felt like one extended home, connected by shared laughter, quiet conversations, and the unspoken language of love. Shadow, the terrier mix, now a happy, well-adjusted dog, often trotted freely between their yards, a furry ambassador of their intertwined lives. Elias often thought back to that first encounter, the irritation he had felt at Sarah's loudness, his desperate clinging to the silence of his grief. He remembered her shy confession, "I know I laugh too loud, but I like you." Those words, so simple, so honest, had been the first crack in his fortress of sorrow. They had opened the door to a healing he never thought possible, a reminder that life, even after the deepest loss, could still hold unexpected joy. He looked at Sarah, her face alight with laughter, as she recounted a funny story to Mr. Sterling, her vibrant presence filling the air with warmth. He saw not just the woman he loved, but the catalyst for his own rebirth. She had taught him that healing didn't always arrive quietly, with solemn reflection or solitary contemplation. Sometimes, it arrived with a burst of unapologetic laughter, a generous heart, and the courage to embrace the vibrant, messy, beautiful symphony of shared moments. His journey was an enduring reminder that the most profound healing often comes from the most unexpected sources, and that the heart, even after years of silence, can learn to sing again, in harmony with the unstoppable melody of a truly authentic soul. What an incredibly powerful and heartwarming conclusion to Elias and Sarah's journey. If their story of overcoming grief, finding unexpected love, and embracing the healing power of laughter has deeply moved you, please show your support. Hit that like button, share this video with someone who needs a dose of inspiration, and most importantly, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on more powerful and uplifting stories like this one. Your engagement helps us continue to create content that celebrates the human spirit. Thank you for watching.